in the YouTube sphere. If you missed today's tournament, we had our very first new banlist tournament. And this is what everyone decided to enter with the tournament. The first one's always messy. I always love it because of how messy it is. But I decided to do a Rye Report quickie on it. Not a full Rye Report. The full Rye Report will come later in the week after the power rankings and all that Garbojo has happened. But we are here to talk about it before we get to that point. This is what everyone entered with. As you can see, overwhelming Harpies, Blue Eyes, and Thunder Dragons enter today's tournament. Pretty crazy. Not a single Automat decided to try today. We had Resonators and Cyber Dragon at least attempt, right, to enter the tournament. And you can see here in the top cut, because whoever enters, it's irrelevant, right? What matters is the top cut. Not a single RDA or a Cyber Dragon was able to top. Cyber Dragon lost to decks like Rika today, so we can pretty much confidently say the Automats and Cyber Dragons, the way that we have known them up until now, they dead. And I think in, when it comes to my prediction, I'm going to say that they continue to be dead. Now, if you look at this top 32, you might be thinking, oh shit, Rye. Blue Eyes White Dragon is back in business. They are on the top. 6 of them top, the most topped deck. Oh my god, they're crazy. Not a single Blue Eyes White Dragon made it to the top 8. Only one Blue Eyes White Dragon was able to push into the top 16. I got super excited when I saw them at top. I was like, maybe Blue Eyes can be meta again. But they did not perform well. They performed well in the early stages. They performed well to get to the top 32. But when it came down to the elimination bracket, they could not hold up to the rest of the metagame. And ultimately, they passed. Now, Blue Eyes, is there a chance that they become top tier? I don't think that this one tournament says, oh, they're no longer top tier. I do think that the overall metagame has weakened with the overall changes that we have. So maybe Blue Eyes can sneak in and become a meta deck. But in today's tournament specifically, they did not perform. They made it to the top cut, and then they all failed to make it anywhere past the actual top 32 cut. Harpies had a fantastic tournament. A lot of people were saying Harpy ladies are probably the best deck. All they really lost was TTH. They're still going to play double Elegant Egotist. If they really want, they could play one Elegant Egotist, one TTH. They're looking very strong. Contender for potentially being the best deck. Maybe that's a potential. Thunder Dragon looked honestly the same. It looked exactly the same thing. They now, instead of having more starters, they're just putting more hand traps like Battling Boxer Veil and stuff like that, and then just stalling until they get a Lupine, essentially. So they really don't feel any different whatsoever. We actually have a question in chat. Where's Gaia? So I should probably mention this. Is a good time to mention, because we could not implement Gaia's skill change properly. We could implement Resonators, because you can reveal the Resonator card, and before your hand shuffles, you have to return that card you revealed. We can't do something similar to Gaia, so unfortunately, Gaia could not play its skill at all in this tournament. This is not the official changes gone through. This is our best attempt to emulate them before Konami puts them in officially. So I personally think Gaia is going to come in maybe as a tier 2, tier 1 deck, and that might have impacts on the metagame. Things like Thunder Dragon, things like Fire King may not be able to do as well with Gaia being back in to stop hand traps. We don't know yet. They're gone for 2 weeks, essentially. Fire Kings, we saw Fire Kings go all the way to like top 8, top 4. They made it to top 4. They went the distance. It looks like Fire King is back with Gaia having a temporary leave. We'll see how long their temporary leave lasts, if they decide to come back with a different skill, with a different card, or if they're just going to literally wait for Galloping Gaia to come back. We don't know, but Fire Kings had an amazing tournament today. I don't think they're going to stick around in the metagame. Though I don't think that's going to happen. I think Gaia is going to come back. I think it's going to be a great deck, and I think it's going to knock that Fire King right back to where it was. We had decks. The finals today was actually Water versus Vampire, and while that was an exciting final, there's always a DLE tradition that the first tournament post-ban list will either be won by a Water deck or a Blue Eyes, and then they'll literally just disappear And you know, I don't think water's around to stick around. I think this is just, again, one of those tournaments that no one really knows what's good, so everyone's playing something different. And decks that are, you know, more like high roll, high sack. If I open Necro Valley, TTH, you know, Cards of Consonance, I'm gonna win the duel. Those types of decks are going to perform really, really, really well. Vampires is excited to see Vampires. You could definitely tell that the overall power of the meta has gone down. So decks like Vampires, like Stardust, Synchron, were all able to do well, better than they have been. So that was exciting to see. For sure, for sure. Now, obviously, with one tournament, like I always say, you can't just take one tournament's data and extrapolate that and say this is the metagame, because a lot of these decks, first of all, not all the skills are relevant, right? And on top of that, since there's going to be more tournaments in the coming days, we can take the data we take here and apply it to those tournaments and see at the end of the week, ultimately, what ends up being very, very strong. My first thoughts, though, of the decks that made it out pretty good outside the ban list: Harpies, Thunder Dragon, and Gaia. Those three decks, even though I didn't see Gaia play today, just imagining the changes and how many stall hand trap decks showed up, that Gaia would be perfect to counter. I think they're going to do fantastic in the upcoming meta. I think Harpy Ladies are more than fantastic in the upcoming meta. They're one of the better decks in the metagame, and I think Thunder Dragon is fine. The only thing is I don't know how we'll interact with Gaia being in the game as well. We'll have to wait and see ultimately how that all relates. Other than that, though, not a single person tried to play automats. They've all given up. I think that's a positive. I think that's great. Cyber Dragon, a lot of people were scared that Cyber Dragon's going to go heavy trap build and overtake the metagame. They were pathetic out there today, man. They did not perform whatsoever. They were losing the Rikas. They were losing all sorts of decks. I don't think just putting in traps is going to be the answer. I think Cyber Dragon's done. I don't think they're coming back until they get support. I think that's going to be that for that. And then Resonators, the only thing that's going to change, they're going to be able to play Fiends in the extra deck, and I don't think that's enough. Unfortunately, them having to play both the Red Nova Dragon and the Red Dragon Archfiend, I think is just too much of a brick. We literally saw a Resonator player go down to the last two cards in his extra deck, and they were the useless Red Dragon Archfiend cards. So I don't think that Resonators have it in them to really continue. If they do, it's going to be a wildly different deck than what we are used to. It's going to be something with like a Fiend Synchro Monster or something like that. Yeah, maybe we get like an extra deck slot. I don't know, but they're definitely one of the losers when it comes to the ban list. TGs, you can also see TGs. You know, obviously Set Delta Excel was not playable because we can't let you return a card, but that's another meta deck that, you know, people didn't even try playing Flight Control into it. So there you go, boys. That is a small little update on the metagame. These are the decks to look out for going into Pendulums: Harpies, Thunder Dragon, potentially Gaia, maybe low-key Water and Blue Eyes. We're keeping our eyes on it. You guys, I love you. I hope you come watch the stream next time. If not, there's the recap. Next time, YouTube.